Let me fall. Huge difference, right, between let me fall and let me fail. Let me fall knowing that I'll be caught. Let me fall knowing that there is always the divine, arms open. That knowing, that assurance of things not seen transforms how we respond to anything in our life. So when things are falling apart, you can know that actually maybe they're falling together. When things are falling between the cracks, you can know maybe they weren't that important to begin with. That when things are falling from your grasp, that they maybe, just maybe, weren't yours to hold on to and to keep from the rest of the world. That candle for faith, of knowing, of peace in your heart can transform any moment, can transform any situation. And faith is talked about in a lot of different ways in our society. Faith is talked about as a faith in doctrine, a faith in teaching, a faith in someone else. And the first definition of faith in dictionary.com is confidence or trust in a person or thing. Faith in another's ability. So we have faith in someone to carry out a job we've assigned them to. Right? Faith in our parents or our children to follow what they say they're going to do. But also, of course, there's faith in God. So whatever God means for you, we talked about it last week here as something very specific. The unity understanding and the unity teaching about what God is the one power and the one presence active in the universe and in our lives. The one power and the one presence. That means that nothing is outside of God. There's not God out there and me here. There's not God with me but against you. There's not God for San Francisco Giants and against the Oakland Raiders. Right? There's not teams in God, which really goes against our tribal mentality, of course. But there's only one power and one presence. So confidence and trust that God's got this. And the second definition was really interesting. And it's a belief not based on proof. Okay? So understanding that what we mean in unity when we say lighting the candle for faith is something more aligns with number two. It's a belief that's not based on facts or on proof, quantifiable in the physical realm. But it has something deeper going on for it too. Often in spiritual circles and in religious circles, you'll hear something about blind faith. And the definition that I found about blind faith is belief without true understanding, perception, or discrimination. I believe this because I've been told it's true. I believe this because I have to believe it to keep my worldview in order. Now, I want to be really clear. Blind faith has gotten me through a lot of dark nights of the soul. I'm not deriding it. But I think that there's another level of faith that we come to here in our spiritual search and our spiritual maturity. That when we give up the beliefs of our past and come to a different tradition, because most of us come to unity from somewhere else, either from no faith or from another tradition. And we come with lots of questions, lots of inquiry about what God is and what all the things we've been taught really mean. Well, let's look at faith today. There's something that I think I have discovered here at Unity, and I think I see reflected in a lot of you, and I like to call it knowing faith. The faith that, as I say, is a conscious determination of hope based on experience and inner understanding, regardless of outside appearances. So knowing faith is an objective look at life itself, everything you've been through, and everything that others are going through, and to make the determination that there is something greater than me at work here, right? That given all the choices I've made in my life, it's a miracle I'm alive. And I can say that with absolute certainty, that given the choices I made in my youth, yes, I'm seeing a couple hands go up here, that I am standing here as your minister and as a parent of 3 children at the moment is just truly something greater than me was at work. But I had to cooperate with it, right? I had to say yes. I had to be willing to go through what I needed to go through to get to this place. So my knowing faith, when I looked at it from that perspective, when I even looked at, well, that person went through that, and they did these things, and they came out the other end. It's a conscious determination that if I follow that step, I will come out the other end. A belief, even though I can't see it, and I have no proof of it for my own life, that someone does. Danielle sang in that beautiful song, someone I know is waiting for me to show up with courage. And I love the definition of courage is not the absence of fear, but courage is actually action in the presence of fear. Action in the presence of fear. Because fear will never win. Right? If we step back and take a long view, fear will never win. It may have its time for a day or a season. But in the end, the human experience and the evolutionary experience is that hope always prevails. That the earth, the universe, God itself will create the phoenix out of the ashes, that we will rise again. So where do we want to live? In fear or in knowing faith? You get to choose today. You get to choose whether to light the candle, to know the truth, and to take action. It's often said that things always work out in the end. So when you're in the midst of it and it's not worked out, it's really painful that it's not worked out, no, it's not the end because it's not worked out. Right? It always works out in the end, so this can't be the end. I look at our national situation right now. This can't be the end because it's not worked out. We're still fighting. We're still in the us and them. We're still in the they did, he did, she did, blame, fear. And you will move people, manipulate people, and change people by fear. It's been done for millennia. But we're here to do something different. Okay? Have we all signed up for something different? And I don't think any of you would be sitting in these chairs today, in this community, if you weren't searching for something different. So, how do we bring this faith, this knowing, this discernment to practice in our lives? In 2,000 years ago, St. Paul wrote this to the Hebrews. Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. So, we call this a New Thought church. There's nothing new under the sun. We call this a New Thought church because it's about taking a new idea into our consciousness. Not that we've got some special new revelation about spirit, or perhaps a new way of explaining it. But St. Paul was saying this 2,000 years ago. That when you can't see it, faith is knowing it's still there. So how do you want to operate in the world today? what do you want to do? It's also been said, and I wrestle with this one, I don't know if I believe it or not. Okay, so I'll take a poll. It's like, you have all the faith you will ever have. Let me say that again. You have all the faith you'll ever have. Only question is, where do you put your faith? Do you have faith that things are going to go bad? Do you have faith that someone's going to let you down? Do you have faith that there's not enough money to pay your bills? Do you have faith that your job doesn't really support you? Do you have faith that there's not the right spouse out there for me? There's not enough men in the world, there's not enough available women, there's not enough good women, all the good ones are taken. There's faith, right? There's faith, but all the good ones are taken. Those are affirmations, those are statements of your faith. So, one of the simple steps you can do is to become conscious of where you're putting your faith. Conscious of what you're holding as the truth in your life. So from a spiritual level, to have faith that God's got my back. That the divine, as me, is bringing me to my highest good. That this universal calling everywhere around me, in the posts, in the floor, in the person sitting next to me, in the people walking by, in the energy of the universe that keeps the stars and planets all moving in synchronicity, is bigger than me and has a divine plan. That we like to call here divine order. Now, that doesn't mean, hear it really clearly. Divine order does not mean that there's a God sitting up in heaven dictating what's going to happen to you in your life. Divine order means that everything always evolves for its highest good. So that even when things are falling apart, they're actually falling together. That losing the job is the best thing that could ever happen to you. How many people here have had that experience? Being fired or losing a job was actually transformative in your life. Okay? Now, also then, keep your hand up. In that moment, did it feel that way? Put the other hand up if it did not feel that good in the moment to lose that job. Right? I remember when I got fired from a job in New York City, and it was soul-crushing. Soul-crushing to be fired from this job, not because of my talents, not because of my abilities, but because who I was as a gay man. Yeah. Right? And I know the women here in the audience can relate too about not even getting a job. Getting a job, not even getting the interview because of your gender, or because of your sexual orientation, or because of a myriad of other things. Those things don't stop your good. I remember in that moment of making the decision whether to sue or not. And I chose not to, just because I didn't want to put the energy into it. I wanted to go on to something else, right? I wanted to go on to something bigger. Within 6 months, I had booked the Broadway tour that led me back to Broadway. Because that's where I was choosing. I had found New Thought teachings at that time, and I found this process of knowing faith. So where are you putting your faith? Where are you putting your faith? That this is against you? This life, this situation, this job, this community, this nation, these people are against you? Or are they for you? Is this for your highest good? Faith is knowing. Faith is knowing that despite outside circumstances, that this is the right and perfect community to lift me up. This is the right and perfect situation to propel me forward. And demand to see it. And if you can't, to keep going, to let it fall apart, and wait till it shows up. As a community here in Unity San Francisco, what is it that is next for us to do? Do we have the courage? Can we walk through the fear that we don't know what it is that's going to be best for us to share this message? That it probably will not look like it's looked in the past. Spiritual communities, churches are changing all over this country and all over the planet. And how do we want to align ourselves to be the voice of this amazing and important teaching for the next 100 years of our existence? Do we see ourselves as a spiritual community in 100 years? We are 99 years old in 2018. 99 years old. On the cusp of being 100 years old here at Unity San Francisco. What is it that we're going to be for the next 100 years? Start visioning that now. How will we be getting our message out? Through this camera or through something much greater? Where will be our home? And what will we be talking about? What music will we be sharing? What community building activities will be engaged in? Caring for others, providing opportunities for growth, and providing opportunities for comfort. Not only here, but then in your personal life.